It may not have been the victory we all dream of, but Leclerc's podium in Barcelona is yet another proof that this Ferrari never gives up. In a weekend where Red Bull crumbles, Mercedes sinks and Verstappen loses his head, the red one stands tall. Some talk about consolation, but there's much more behind this third place. A team in conflict, Leclerc's impossible strategies, and a second place in the World Championship to defend until the end. And perhaps right now, as others are in crisis, a real opportunity opens up to get back in front. Watch until the end to find out if the SF25 still has potential or if it's time to focus on 2026. If you enjoyed the videos, hit like to support me. Now let's begin. Ferrari wins the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a third-rate position that reeks not of success, but of solace. We must aim higher than that. After 9 races, McLaren's points have doubled, Red Bull relies on a single car, and Mercedes struggles. But despite this, the red floats. It doesn't fly. It doesn't grow. It simply resists. Hamilton has stopped believing. It was seen from Thursday, listless, distant, almost resigned. And if even someone like him starts to fade, then the signal is strong. Leclerc, on the other hand, fights, puts his soul into it as always, but is forced to give up even his strong point. The quick lap to try to play it with strategy. Ultimately, the podium is more a result of Red Bull's generosity than their own achievements. Ferrari, on the other hand, chose not to introduce updates in Barcelona, justifying the choice with the fact that such a directive must be absorbed first. But in reality, Maranello was well aware that the directive would not significantly alter the on-track performance. From Australia to today, the gaps are practically unchanged. Ferrari is still too far behind compared to a serious, concrete and winning project. The SF25's flaws were not accidental, as confirmed by the delayed corrections. The real medium-term 677 project demands time and resources, both of which are lacking. If you took Hamilton to win right away, the constructors' standings say second place, but it's a second place that's worth nothing if all that's behind it is rubble. Mercedes is in deep crisis, Red Bull is a single engine, Aston Martin disappeared, and Alpine is out of the game. If with this scenario you are second but without victories, it means you are solid but not competitive. It's the same movie we saw with Mercedes. In 2023, much consistency, zero glory. And just like in 2023 here too, no one has the strength to seriously oppose those in charge. Vasseur has effectively organized and shaped a more credible internal structure, but more is needed. When you take Hamilton, it's not to build something, it's to win immediately. If there isn't even a real trophy in the showcase by December, there will be no excuses. Failed season, period. Continuing to tell oneself that it's still a good result or that second place is a positive sign is toxic. It's precisely this attitude that hinders a winning mentality. If we don't call things by their name, failure when it's failure, we don't grow. The numbers suggest a resurgent Ferrari, finishing second in the Constructors' World Championship, outperforming Mercedes and Red Bull. But if we look at the track, the reality is different. The red one is only moving because the others are collapsing. Mercedes has engine problems, Red Bull is now only Verstappen, and Ferrari finds itself in second place. Barcelona was expected to transform, but fell short in winning, shining, and improving. New Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile directives on flexible wings, aerodynamic components, and strategies yielded no changes. The gap from McLaren remains the same. They are ahead by 3/4 tenths per lap, just like at the start of the season. And they haven't even announced updates, because the real strength is now structural, not occasional. They brought the new wing to Imola already, and they are dominating. Ferrari, on the other hand, tried it with a new, stiffer, redesigned wing, but the quality leap was not seen at all. Leclerc made yet another strategic sacrifice, giving up qualifying to save new tires for use in the race. Even this plan failed. Without a safety car, he would have finished behind Verstappen, as he admitted himself. Wrong choice. It's pointless to keep forcing strategies when the foundation is missing. Without race pace in Formula 1. Today we're not going anywhere. Vasseur continues to say that important updates will arrive, new bottom, rear suspension, invisible developments that don't even need to be announced. But there's no enthusiasm even within the team. They believe more. The SF25 is an unconvincing project. And the truth is simple, the car is wrong, you can update it as much as you want, but when the basic concept is fragile, you don't overturn anything, you can only contain the damage. After Imola, the company executives had asked for an acceleration on developments. They wanted a clear change of pace, but in Barcelona that change of pace did not happen, and it's not even on the horizon. Today's only certainties come from Hamilton, who is becoming increasingly uncertain. After the initial excitement, he has already lost faith, clearly stating this car won't change and it's better to think about 2026. A weighty statement from someone who always speaks with purpose. And here the question is only one. Does it still make sense to bet on the SF25 or should it be dropped immediately? Because even those who work in sports management know that you can't win with this car. So it might as well start really building the one for 2026. Because yes, it's true that second place is still there to defend. But if you have to chase it every weekend with a car that has already said everything, maybe you're just wasting time. The McLaren is now on the run. With everyone else, yes, the battle is still open, but what's the point of coming in second? If you do it without potential, the risk is wasting precious energy. While those who really look ahead could reach 2026 with a year's advantage. In Formula One, a year is an eternity. Lewis Hamilton is going through one of the darkest moments of his career. And this time it's not just a technical issue, but also a mental one. After 3 consecutive GPs in Imola, Monaco and Barcelona with no highlights, no rhythm, no signs of awakening, Lewis openly admitted, "I got nothing from these 3 races." Heavy words, which tell much more than just a simple difficulty. The Ferrari team tries to see the glass half full. Vasseur sees progress in recent races, but Hamilton disagrees. He is off, far from his best version, and on Sunday in Barcelona he was seen slow, off, unrecognizable. Even in the race, where he typically excels despite difficult qualifications, he couldn't bounce back. A lackluster performance, made worse by the comparison to Leclerc's podium finish. Those who know him well have also highlighted the critical moment. Nico Rosberg, speaking on Sky United Kingdom, clearly said that seeing Lewis like this hurts. It was a shocking weekend, without explanations, and when you don't have answers, it's the worst moment for a driver. The truth is that Hamilton today seems lost. He is not only behind in terms of performance, he is misaligned with the project. He came to Ferrari to win, to rewrite history, but today he is just a spectator of the World Championship. And even internally, the situation is getting complicated. The team talks about improvements. He says there is nothing to save. A subtle but real fracture. And to make everything worse, there's the growing pressure of having to justify every underwhelming weekend. When your name is Hamilton and you have 7 titles, mediocrity is not an option. But if the car isn't working and you're not feeling it, you end up looking like an average driver, and that's exactly what's happening now. The point is this: can he still react, or are we facing a transition season disguised as a winning project? The Ferrari 2025 was supposed to be the foundation to build on, but for Hamilton it has become a cage. If the trend persists, the narrative may change. From Hamilton the champion in search of his 8th, to Hamilton in the wrong season, at the wrong time. But there's a point no one is mentioning, clearly. The Ferrari podium only comes thanks to a disoriented Red Bull and a providential safety car. The pace of the SF25 was the 4th force, and the data proves it. In the second stint, Charles loses ground, Russell approaches him. It's only the final phase, with the new softs and Max on the hard ones to reshuffle the cards. Yet, something doesn't add up in Leclerc's times. Vasseur neither confirms nor fully denies a potential minor issue with the car, but suggests it's not serious. Mystery, on the other side of the box, however, there is total darkness. Hamilton is struggling with Ferrari this weekend. He starts strong but fades, complaining about the car's balance, pace and feel. And when they ask him if there is at least something to save, he responds zero, dry, direct, demotivated. Vasseur tries to defend him. He did 45 laps ahead of Russell. Then we had a technical problem, but the reality is that Lewis never finds the rhythm. And when Leclerc, with the same car and the same tires, finishes on the podium, the comparison becomes unbearable. Hamilton started the season with confidence, enthusiasm, a desire to change things. Now he seems empty, and the confirmation came in Barcelona. In 5 races, Leclerc has been on the podium 3 times. Hamilton not even once. Ferrari clings to results that seem important, but in reality they are just the result of others' chaos. McLaren is on another planet, Red Bull stumbles, but is still ahead. Hamilton, expected to be the added value, is notably absent. The risk that Leclerc's podium will be sold as a show of strength, but if something doesn't change quickly, it will only be an illusion. The Barcelona weekend has turned into a boomerang for Max Verstappen. He had to be a solid 3rd place, a result safely managed behind the 2 McLarens. The race fell apart following the safety car's deployment. And not just because of the tire strategy, it was the driver himself who lost control both inside and outside the cockpit. Red Bull's decision to use hard tires was questionable but justifiable. The real issue arose afterwards. First the contact with Leclerc on the straight, then the collision with Russell in turn 1. The first incident is filed away without blame by the commissioners. The second, however, is a disaster of communication and emotional management. The team orders him to give up his position to Russell for fear of a penalty, even though it was not necessary. A glaring mistake on the part of the pit wall that confuses Verstappen and throws him off balance. From there, Max's condition deteriorates further. In turn 5, he touches again and gets a 10-second penalty, slipping to 10th place and also taking home 3 points on the super license. He is one step away from potential disqualification. After the race, he downplayed the situation, stating that in life one shouldn't regret too much. But the day after comes the social media post with a much more reflective tone. Frustration has taken over. I made a wrong gesture, not a real excuse, but at least an admission, and this says a lot about the moment Max is living. When he doesn't have the dominant car, that impulsive side that he never really lost comes out again. The most worrying fact is not so much the penalty as the fact that the incident shows a disturbing mental fragility under pressure. The dominant Verstappen of past seasons was also clear-headed, calculating and ruthless, but cold. This one, however, is nervous, irregular, and conditioned by the team's wrong choices. If even Gianpiero Lambiase destabilizes him with a wrong call, the problem is broader. And then there's the management of the image. No direct apology to Russell, no strong post-race conference, just a social post the day after. An attitude that doesn't help, especially now that Red Bull is vulnerable, because if McLaren continues like this and Ferrari manages to fix something, Max will really have to start fighting. And there, numbers are no longer enough, you need cold blood, which simply wasn't there in Spain. Just when you think you've heard it all, along comes Ralf Schumacher. After the Spanish Grand Prix, the former German driver launched a theory live on Sky Deutschland that can only be described as surreal. According to him, Verstappen deliberately caused the accident with Russell to lose points and trigger an exit clause from his contract with Red Bull. Yes, you heard right, that would be the alleged scenario. If Verstappen is not among the top 3 drivers in the standings at the summer break, he would have the right to free himself from the contract for 2026. And so Max would be sabotaging his own season to escape from Red Bull. A total madness, without any concrete proof, that insinuates suspicion on one of the most competitive drivers in recent Formula 1 history. Obviously, the team's response was not long in coming. Christian Horner, in a Bild interview, dismissed the theory as total absurdity without hesitation. I haven't heard something so stupid in a long time. He then reiterated that Max, a real driver who always wants to win, would never do something like that, ending the discussion. Be cautious, as this controversy stems from a previous heated clash between Ralf and Red Bull in Japan. The atmosphere between the two parties has been tense for months, and these statements do nothing but fuel the fire. However, the problem is not just media-related, because insinuations of this kind risk turning every mistake on the track into a scandal. If Verstappen is already under pressure, fueling conspiracies only worsens the situation. Context is important. Red Bull is in decline, McLaren has found its pace, Ferrari is looking for openings. Max, nervous, has collected 3 penalty points and risks disqualification. This situation requires clarity and leadership, not speculative theories. If Verstappen really wanted to leave Red Bull, he wouldn't need to cause disasters on the track to do it. He would simply say and do it. But today, even fueling these rumors is toxic for the entire paddock. And the truth is, Verstappen can make mistakes, he can lose his cool, he can even be penalized, but to insinuate that he does it on purpose is a gratuitous attack and an insult to the sport.
In the chaos of the Spanish Grand Prix, one of the most controversial decisions came not from the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, but from the Red Bull pit.
Asking Verstappen to give up his position to Russell right after the restart. An order that, given the circumstances, proved not only unnecessary, but
counterproductive. And
today we finally have the official explanation. It all starts with the contact in turn 1 between Max and George. The commissioners, after analyzing the incident, classify it as a simple race contact without specific faults. But right then, Red Bull orders Max to let Russell pass. Why? Christian Horner clarified that the team acted out of fear of a penalty, trying to anticipate a decision that at that point had not even arrived. In practice, they decided to give up the position before the commissioners said anything, and this infuriated Verstappen. The pit wall acted based on precedents. In the past, similar incidents have resulted in penalties. So to avoid the risk, they made the conservative choice. But the risk turned into damage, because Max's frustration exploded immediately after, leading to an avoidable contact with Russell in turn 5, resulting in a 10-second penalty and 3 points on Verstappen's license, bringing him 1 step away from disqualification, all stemming from a hasty decision by the team. Horner attempted to explain the error, stating that complex, rapid decisions are often necessary without full access to race direction times. But it would be much simpler if the director clearly said either give back the position or you get a penalty. And he's right. Why do teams today have to guess what the commissioners might decide? In Formula 1, relying on assumptions often comes at a high cost. Max was already nervous as Leclerc hit him on the straight, followed by Russell in turn 1. And in that context, the message from the pit was the fuse. The umpteenth management error in a Red Bull that is showing clear cracks in strategies, internal dynamics, even in communication between the driver and the pit wall. The truth is that these kinds of decisions based more on fear than on facts do not belong to a dominant team. And if even Verstappen emotionally disengages from the pit, the castle can collapse quickly. Barcelona revealed Red Bull's vulnerability, not from a lack of performance, but from management instability in a lengthy World Championship season. These are signals that you cannot ignore. At the end of the Spanish Grand Prix with the safety car on the track and the race completely reopened, Red Bull made a decision that left everyone perplexed, mounting a new set of hard tires on Verstappen, even though there was still a set of soft ones available, a choice that completely changed the outcome of his race. But there's a reason, and it's not as simple as it seems. The Red Bull strategy, it should be said, was set on 3 pit stops. An aggressive choice, born out of the awareness that the McLarens would have been hard to beat with an equal approach. The idea was to try to surprise them, especially in the second part of the race, but then the safety car variable came 10 laps from the end. Back to square one. At that point, there were 2 options: mount the only set of softs still available, already used, or go on the new hard. They chose the second. Why? Because that set of softs had been exploited, not only in qualifying but also in the pre-race, in the formation laps, in the start tests, in the training balance phase. It already had 7 laps on its shoulders, few apparently, but enough to compromise the explosiveness necessary in a sprint finish. Red Bull assessed the risk of mounting a used soft and finding itself defenseless at the restart. Or bet everything on a new hard, hoping to have more grip on the single lap. But it was a C1 hard, the absolute hardest in the Pirelli range, used in Barcelona under the safety car. Getting it into the right window was a feat, without fast curves, without a way to make it work. That tire was a leap in the dark, and indeed it did not work. Horner then admitted that in hindsight they might have left Verstappen out with the softs. But at the time of the call, with the information available, they thought that a new tire, albeit hard, was better than a used and potentially degraded one. The goal was to keep the hope of the podium alive. The result was Max slipped into traffic, lost rhythm, went into tilt, and ended up touching Russell. 10 seconds penalty, 3 points on the license. And a Red Bull that, for the first time this season, seems to have no more certainties. The truth is that this is not just a technical defeat, it's a strategic defeat. Red Bull got it wrong. And when you're used to dominating, even a small crack turns into an avalanche. The basic fact is clear: when you need 3 pit stops and you find yourself mounting the worst compound at the crucial moment, it means that something didn't work upstream. The car wasn't enough, but neither was the pit. And in all of this, Max put his part in emotional management, in the post-SC reaction, in the growing frustration. The strategy wasn't the real problem, it was the accelerator of a disaster already ready to explode. If you liked the video, hit like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next ones. Let me know what you think in the comments. See you next time.